let's begin this morning talking about a proverb this is another proverb found in Ezekiel chapter 12, verse 22. This is another one of those proverbs that were spoken by the people, by the Jews. And God is correcting it. He does not like it. And matter of fact, it's blasphemous, as a matter of fact. But Ezekiel chapter 12 and verse 22, Son of man, what is this proverb that you people, he's not really saying Ezekiel's been saying it, but you people, a proverb that people have about the land of Israel, which says, the days are prolonged and every vision fails. All right, that's the proverb. The days are prolonged and every vision fails. Well, what does that mean? What were they using that to mean for? And it speaks directly against God, is what it does. It is saying that every promise fails and every prophecy fails. That the days are prolonged. When will the promises of God come into effect? When will they be fulfilled? And they've come to a conclusion they won't be. Everything has failed in all this, that this will never end. The days are prolonged. Every vision, let's just put the word in there, every prophecy, every promise fails. And this is very similar to 2 Peter 3, verses 3 and 4, where you have scoffers who say, where's the promise of His coming? Why isn't Jesus here yet? Well, everything continues as it's always been from the beginning, and it's not here. All right, those are the scoffers. Well, this would come from very similar scoffers, just considerably earlier in time. And he corrects this. And everything's going to be done on God's time. It's not on my time, it's on God's time. And when do we get to decide personally when something's going to be fulfilled? Because we would all disagree as to when it should be fulfilled. We'd all have disagreement. But it's God who's going to decide, and it's in His time that these things are done, and done perfectly in time. So that is another one of the things that were said in the days of Ezekiel. We covered one last week, but that is, the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. Now, we go to Proverbs chapter 7. That's where we are this morning. Proverbs chapter 7. And it really is a continuation of something he was discussing in chapter 6, which was the immoral woman, that adulteress, staying away from her. And there is this plea that is given at the beginning of this chapter, and it's a plea that we have seen before. Starts off the book with a very similar plea. And this warning along with it. Verse 1, chapter 7, my son, keep my words and treasure up my commands with you. Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye. That is precious. First and foremost. That's where it's supposed to be. Then we have verse 3. Bind them on your fingers, write them on the tablet of your heart. So this is very similar language that we see from other passages. And we just want to take a moment in this. What does this mean in putting all this together? Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. What does that even mean? That means that this is to be a perpetual remembrance. It's to be close to you. Used, not just occasionally, always used and always remembered. And notice, bind them on your fingers. Okay, I guess technically you could do that. Bind them on your fingers. I guess technically you could do that. I don't know how you would function or how you'd solve that problem per se. But the next bit is an impossibility. Write them on the tablets, literal impossibility. Write them on the tablet of your heart. How do you do that? All right, how do you literally do that? You can't literally do that. Your heart doesn't have a tablet. But it can be done figuratively. It can be done metaphorically, which is what it always was. And I'm not just referring to Proverbs 7. I'm referring to other places, such as Exodus 13:16, Deuteronomy 6:8, Deuteronomy 11:18, where there's very similar language in all this. Exodus 13:16, signs on your hands, frontlets before your eyes. Deuteronomy 6:8, signs and frontlets again. Deuteronomy 11:18, in your heart and soul. All right, in putting them all together, we get an understanding that this can't be taken literally. And actually, Moses never took it literally. That is, these things are to literally be on your body, that these sayings are to be on your body. And David never took it literally, and Solomon never took it literally. Actually, it wasn't until we get into the intertestamental period, in that particular time period, and we're looking at 400 and some odd years there, where this was made literal, and that's where we have Jesus speaking concerning the scribes and the Pharisees, and that they have, well, let's just go to Matthew chapter 23, just very quickly, because they took it literally, and it is all this show is what it is. It's just a show. Verse 5, so Matthew 23, verse 5, but all their works they do to be seen by men. All right, that's it. They make their phylacteries broad and enlarge the borders of their garments. Okay, so what's a phylactery? A phylactery is that they would take leather and they would have like a headband. You can think of it like a headband. And on the headband, there is a box. And you may have seen someone doing this. There is a box that is literally on your forehead, a little box. And in the box, there is Scripture that's stored there. Scripture is stored in that box. And also, someone might wrap it around their arm and and hold it basically in their hand. And that would be another, either cloth or leather or something like that. And all of this is trying to be a literal fulfillment of all of this. But that's never what it was. That's never what it was supposed to be. All of this is write them on the tablet of your heart. That's your mind. That's to be kept in mind always. And this is to be held deeply, sincerely. And none of it was meant to be worn. None of this was meant to be worn. Now, we come back to Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 4. And yeah, the little box actually is called a tephilah. The phylactery is what goes around your head, and perhaps you've seen it. I don't know if you have or not. But now back to chapter 7, verse 4. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call insight your intimate friend. All right? Here is this relationship that is between you and wisdom. It is in your heart and your intimate friend, because wisdom is your friend. Now, here in chapter 7, as we said, it is a continuation of what he has been saying in chapter 6 concerning the immoral woman. Now he's going to relay a story, and it's a personal story. It's something that he witnessed. He saw it occurring, and he knows something about it. and he's relaying it to his son and, of course, to us as well. And actually, when we come to the conclusion, which is in verse 24, he says, "And now, O sons, listen to me." So this is obviously more than just the son he's been addressing. This goes to a whole lot more than that. But this is what Solomon observes. And this goes back into the events of an immoral woman, which has been addressed from chapter 2, chapter 5, and chapter 6. Now in chapter 7. I think we said it last week. When something is being repeated, there's a reason for it. If something is being repeated, there's a very good reason why it is. Because it's something that is prevalent, it is a problem, it is a temptation that is common and successful and can take anybody in. So here is a very powerful enticement, as a matter of fact. Let wisdom guide you. Let wisdom guide you. Okay, so Solomon begins in this. He starts up, verse 5, "To keep you from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words." So you need to have wisdom as your intimate friend, wisdom as your sister, wisdom there in the tablet of your heart. You need all that to help you from what's going to happen. And this is the forbidden woman. This is someone you cannot have. This is not your wife. This is somebody else's wife. She does not belong to you. You do not belong to her. Stay away. This is an adulteress with her smooth words. And nothing's changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. Now, this is what he saw. "For at the window of my house I have looked out through my lattice, and I have seen among the simple, I have perceived among the youths a young man lacking sense." So here is this young man. He has no wisdom. He is clueless as to what's going to occur, what the repercussions are going to be of falling in with her, of the consequences that are going to just rise out of nowhere. Well, actually, not out of a void, out of the sins being committed. But here among the simple is this young man lacking sense. He has no wisdom, and this is exactly the one she is targeting. All right? This is precisely who she's targeting. Because this young man is simple. He's among the simple. He's lacking sense. He's in proximity. All right, she's looking for someone. She's not going to go terribly, terribly far, though she does go places in the city. Okay, she's not looking for someone who has wisdom, who has some sense about him, and she's not going to look for someone too far away because she doesn't have to. But he's in proximity, and he is on time. What does that mean? Well, he's the first in view. He's the first in view. As she is looking, and this is her target, and she is an opportunist. That all is set and everything's ready, and she's going to find someone who's foolish enough to fall in with her. All right, that's what she's out to do. And I don't think it takes very long for someone to be able to determine, or someone like her, to be able to determine who is a likely victim and who's not going to follow her at all. All right, she knows that. All right, now, here is this person lacking sense, verse 8, passing along the street near her corner, taking the road to her house. So he's in proximity. He's exactly when she's looking. She is looking for someone. And do not think, because I don't think from the wording in this, that they actually would know each other by name. That they're not actually acquaintances. They're not actually friends of any sort whatsoever. She's not. He wouldn't know her name. She wouldn't know his name. Passing along the street near her corner, taking the road to her house. All right. Now, from the events that take place, one would gather that he's not going to her house. He's just heading by. That he's off to do something else. Because she's the one that stops him. She's laying in wait for him. Now, verse 9. In the twilight, in the evening, at the time of night and darkness. This is when this occurs. Now, what happens? Verse 10. And behold, the woman meets him, dressed as a prostitute, wily of heart. Do not think that how you dress does not communicate something. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that how you are dressed is communicating something. All right. Let's just say this, on a Sunday morning, if you see a man dressed in a suit or a woman dressed in very nice clothes, what do you probably know about that person? They're going to church. Yeah, that's exactly right. And you can know somebody by how they are dressed, and also know what they may be doing. Someone is in work clothes. You know they're probably off to do some work or have been working. You see someone. Well, we could just mention all kinds of things. Someone that comes in with a leather jacket and a motorcycle helmet. Well, you know they're a biker. All right. You know that you may not know much else about them, but you know well that's a biker. But I will say this: years ago, that at a completely different state, it was a woman in a congregation where when she came to church, she was dressed like she was going to a singles bar. Okay, and that was obvious. She was a married woman with children. But when she came to worship, she was dressed like she was going to a singles bar. She was dressed like she was there to attract someone. Well, she has a husband. Who does she think she's going to attract? All right. And you could know there's trouble in this marriage. You could know it just by that. All right, just by the way that she was dressed. And of course, men can do the same thing. Men can definitely do the same thing of how they are dressed. Something says something about them. And clothing communicates. And in this instance, it's communicating what? She's immoral. She's promiscuous. She's looking. That's what it means. She's obviously not in mourning. All right, mourning the death of someone. That would be different clothing. She's obviously not someone heading off to the temple with respect. She would be dressed completely different for that. She's not heading to the marketplace to go shopping, grocery shopping. She would be dressed differently for that. She's out searching for a foolish man. That's who she's after. And she's dressed for that very thing. Now, we come to this where it describes her. All right? Wily of heart. Now, verse 11. She is loud and wayward. Her feet do not stay at home. Now, this does not mean that she must always be found at home. That's not what it means. It means she despises her home. That's what it means. That she despises her husband. Does she have children? She might. She despises them. She despises her home altogether. That she has other interests, other things that she would rather be doing than her home. Now, could she like her house? Sure, she could like her house. Matter of fact, she's going to pull him in to her house. But it's her home. She doesn't care anything about that. She will tear that down with her own hands. And I'm talking about the relationships that she's supposed to have with husband and children. It means nothing to her. But she will not stay home. She doesn't care about that. She cares nothing for it. And where is she found? All right, she's found all over the place, as a matter of fact. All right, she's loud and wayward. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the market, and at every corner she lies in wait. Now this goes in complete difference to wisdom. Wisdom, as portrayed as a human female. Wisdom also is in the marketplace, in the concourses, in the gates. Wisdom is also there calling out. But along with wisdom, here is this woman, this adulteress. She is in the street, the marketplace, in every corner she lies in wait. Now, one comes to a conclusion. She's not waiting for this man by name, like, where is Bill? Okay, nor is she aware of at last I have found Bill. All right, or just make up whatever name you want. She is lying in wait for the one who fills the requirements in all this. And number one on that is got to be foolish. He's got to be foolish enough to join her. And so she is out searching. This is what she does. And now she seizes him and kisses him. This is her greeting and her introduction. And with bold face she says to him, all right, now this next verse we're going to look at, because this is profane. This shows how wicked she is. Adultery is only one problem she's got, which is usually the case. All right, that's only one problem she has. She says this, verse 14, I have offered sacrifices, and today I have paid my vows. All right, now, to a Gentile man, that would mean absolutely nothing. Okay, good for you. What has that got to do with anything? All right, I'm happy for you. What's that got to do with anything? But to a Jewish man, he would understand what that meant. All right, and this is how wicked she is. She's been to the temple that day. She offered what's known as a Thanksgiving offering that day. And in that offering, a portion of it is given back to the one offering the sacrifice. It is given back, and it is to be eaten in a holy place. It's to be eaten clean. Okay? It's to be eaten clean. And you don't do this if you are ceremonially unclean. Not to mention immorally unclean. But you have to be even ceremonially clean in all this. And a portion is given back. And so what is she saying? She says, we've got a full meal waiting. I've got a full meal waiting for you. All right? This has been done today, and she is inviting him to take part in this Thanksgiving meal. In this meal, and with the man she's going to commit adultery with. All right? And this goes into chapter 15, verse 8, The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord. Well, if you're doing this, of course it is. Of course it is. And one would come to a conclusion, what did she think she was doing? That this would seem like her religion is a pretense, and the Thanksgiving offering is only a pretense, and that she has this meal waiting for her target. It's part of the enticement. The enticement she's persistent, and she is working very hard this day for this moment. That's what she's been doing. Now she says this, and this is going to be a series of things that one right after another. One is that pleasure awaits you. All right? Pleasure awaits you. Then the next one is everything is safe and secure. You don't have to worry about anything, and that there's going to be no consequences involved in this. There's going to be nothing about this is going to be of any danger whatsoever. And the next one is that of seductive words. She's persistent. She doesn't stop. And notice what she says in verse 16. So here's this thing of this is going to be paradise. This is going to be our little paradise. I have spread my couch with coverings, colored linens from Egyptian linen. Now that would be a luxury item of the day. All right, even to this day, something like Egyptian cotton. Now cotton's not linen, I realize that, but something like Egyptian cotton is, and what's the thread count that's there on the Egyptian cotton? This is something that was luxury of the day, and they're colored linens, so it's fancy, and Egyptian linen, so it's very fine stuff. Verse 17, I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love till morning. Let us delight ourselves with love. All right, that is the proposition. So we have a full meal. We're going to be in luxury, surrounded by all these things, and it's going to be the two of us. And verse 19, it's safe. For my husband is not at home. In case you're wondering, my husband's not at home. So it's kind of obvious she's married, but my husband's not at home. He has gone on a long journey, so he's not even close. Now, next thing, she says two things. He took a bag of money with him, which means he's going to be gone for a while. All right, because he needs to buy supplies. He needs to buy a place, be able to have places to sleep and reside, inns and the like. So he took a bag of money with him, and the next one. Now I'm reading from the English Standard. At full moon he will come home. Now the New King James says at the appointed day. The appointed day. That there is an appointed time when he's going to be back. Literally, it does mean, the words are at the full moon. That's literally what the Hebrew says. But the meaning of that could mean at full moon, or there's a specific time that he will be back. There's a specific day he's supposed to be back. And there is no worries here. He's on a long journey. Who knows? There's no way he can be here at all. So everything is there. Everything is safe. Now, she doesn't stop with that. Which with much seductive speech, she persuades him. So he is innocent of any of this until we get to this point when he's going to follow her. He's innocent of any of this. He wasn't waiting for her. It doesn't appear like he was looking for her We don't even know where he was going. And so she persuades him. With her smooth talk, she compels him. So she continues to seduce. After all these things of everything, this is going to be our paradise. All is good. No worries whatsoever. And she has provided everything. He provides nothing. She has provided everything in this. And we come to verse 22. All at once he follows her. Okay, so this is where he just made the bad decision. Up to this point, he could have walked away. He could have just continued on where he was going. At this point, saying, no, thank you. But I'm not. And he goes, he could have walked away, but he doesn't. All at once, he follows her. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time of deliberation. He's not thinking of what the consequences may be. According to her, there could be no consequence. While there is an element of risk, obviously, in all this, it's minimal. Minimal. Husband's nowhere to be. He's not even close to being home. So, all at once he follows her. Notice, as an ox goes to slaughter. Has no idea where he's going. Doesn't know what awaits. Doesn't know what the consequences are going to be. Doesn't even know that it's all that is unknown and unsuspected. He is among the simple, and he is also as described as lacking sense. So he hasn't thought any of this through, and the consequences in all this and the ramification in all this is going to be a total shock when it arrives. And the harshness of it is going to be a total surprise when it arrives. Because verse 23, till an arrow pierced its liver. I'm sorry, I didn't finish the first. As an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a stag is caught fast, till an arrow pierces its liver. That would be that stag. As a bird rushes into a snare, he does not know that it will cost him his life. Okay. Now, we've already learned previously of her way leads to death. That Sheol is there. That is the realm of the dead. And he doesn't know it's going to cost him his life. Now, did Solomon see that this man was killed? And was he literally killed? Well, maybe. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. We can take it as being literal of, yes, it cost him his life that night or very soon thereafter. It cost him his life. Or it could be that he didn't literally die from a husband or from something such as this, but that spiritually and emotionally, he's dead. It cost him his life. And we can take this either way, literally or figuratively. In either case, it's not a good situation. In either case, it's rather brutal. And now we have this conclusion and the reason for the story. Okay, Dad, why did you tell me this story? Well, you should already know, but here comes the conclusion. And now, O sons, listen to me and be attentive to the words of my mouth. Let not your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths. Stay clear. All right, stay clear. Because this isn't going to turn out the way you think it's going to turn out. And don't be simple. Don't be clueless. Don't be one that has no sense or just foolish. Don't stray into her paths. Verse 26, and here it is. Why is this being repeated? For many a victim has she laid low, and all her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is the way of Sheol, that is the realm of the dead, going down to the chambers of death. And you're going to follow that mighty throng? It doesn't matter how mighty they were. They've been taken. They've been taken. And here is this warning in all of this. And as we have said, why this is being repeated? Because this happens all the time, every day. And we have said this before, if temptation did not have a pull, some kind of pull to it, whether, and in this case it's with pleasures, and temptation doesn't have to be one that is like that. Temptation can definitely be one of trying to bring about cowardice, of fear and intimidation. But here is one of pleasure. If temptation didn't have some kind of draw to it, some kind of pull to it, it wouldn't be a temptation. It wouldn't be a temptation at all. All right? Satan is not going to tempt me to take a petri dish full of who knows what and try to consume it. All right, because you're going to get sick, maybe die from it. And there's no draw to it. There's no draw whatsoever. He can't do that, and he knows he can't because there's no temptation in it. But he looks for whatever weaknesses someone might have, and every single one of us has certain weaknesses, certain points, and he knows what they are. And if he doesn't know, he is one who can goes to find out, by putting you to the test to see what you will fall for. But okay, so here is the result in all this. Now we come to chapter 8, and this is now switching over to wisdom personified, also portrayed as a woman. Wisdom personified. And wisdom is to be found everywhere. It can be found. And wisdom isn't just hiding in some cave somewhere quietly, and somehow you have to work your way into finding her. You don't have to. Does not wisdom call? Well, this takes us right back to chapter 1, verses 20 and 21. Does not wisdom call? Yes, wisdom does. Does not understanding raise her voice? Well, let's go back to chapter 1, verses 20 and 21. Wisdom cries aloud in the street, in the markets. She raises her voice. At the head of the noisy street, she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates, she speaks. Notice what she says. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing and fools hate knowledge? Okay, how long are you going to do this? All right, listen and grow in wisdom. Listen and grow. Or you can just be a fool, ignore, and just flatline as a fool. No improvement whatsoever. No change whatsoever. The fool that was the young fool remains a fool as an old fool. And not so cute anymore. It wasn't cute to begin with. Now it's seriously not cute. There's nothing here to admire at all. But here is flatlining as a fool, with pride, with arrogance, with I'm never going to listen to correction whatsoever. I'm never going to grow in any kind of wisdom. In writing, this is known as a character arc, of where your character has changed through the story. Your character, usually in novels, your character has changed. This is what he was like chapter 1. This is what he was like in chapter 10. Or in the final chapter. All right. This is what he was. But you can be flatline. This is what the fool was in chapter 1. And he's not changed in the final chapter. He's still a fool. He's not changed at all. He's not learned one thing. He still holds on to the things that he believed years ago and has not changed one bit. Now, I'll just use this. Well, I believe it was Klaus Barbie. Klaus Barbie was a Nazi high up. He escaped Germany and he escaped prosecution in the Nuremberg trials. They didn't know where he went. All right, and who knows? He could be among the thousands of dead. They didn't know. But after so many years, and I do mean quite a number of years, they did find him. And it was like maybe 40 years later they found him. It was a while, and he was in South America. They did find him. And you know what? Klaus Barbie was still spewing the same Nazi doctrine. Still spewing it. He hadn't learned a thing. One would think after seeing all this just implode and all the things that occurred in this, and given some years afterward to actually survive this, which you're pretty lucky to be able to do that. You survived it. You avoided the consequences back after World War II, immediately after it, with the trials that went on. That you would think, didn't you learn anything? Didn't you find anything that you saw that this led to a dead end? That this was a terrible kind of philosophy that led to nothing but death. Death to everybody. But evidently not. He didn't learn. He just flatlines as being a fool. An intelligent fool, still a fool. One that can escape authority for 40 years or so, however long it was, but still a fool. And what we see from wisdom is that you don't have to remain that way. You can be built up. You can learn, and it's a matter of human will. Appreciate everybody being with us. We'll continue next week. Thank you.